Let's get to some Vols getting some love, but I don't think they got enough love, to be real honest with you. It is Joe Milton, Dont'e Thornton making the On3 list of top 100 players in college football. I'll tell you where they are as part of Four Downs. Four Downs is brought to you by our friends at Craft Treats. Four Downs right now off the Hook Sports, brought to you by crafttreats.com.
Four downs. Four questions. Four answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
Four
Downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, so where we got Joe Milton and Dont'e Thornton on the top 100 list there, Caleb Calhoun. Not high, but on the list. Before I tell you about crafttreats.com.
Yep, we got Joe Milton at number 81 and Dont'e Thornton at number 95. That one just felt like a shot in the dark.
The Thornton one did?
Yeah, the Thornton one did.
Yeah, I could make strong arguments with a transfer, if I want to use old school logic, that you shouldn't have a transfer on this list, but we're in a different world. So I'm cool with having Dont'e Thornton on there. I could also make a strong argument that a guy who is a first-year starter again, so to speak, even though he started before but lost his job, shouldn't be on a top 100 list. But I'm completely cool with both being on that list. And I think they're at about the right spot, which is the bottom quarter of the spot. So, I've zero problem with them being on there. Who else would you have on there from Tennessee's football team before we get to Four Downs? Because I want to ask you about where you would have these guys ranked and where you would have maybe another Vol on this top 100 list. It has to be another one, right?
I'd have a couple more. I'd have one of our own. I'd have Cooper Mays on here. There's not a center in the country I would take over Cooper Mays. I'd say that right now. I would also have Brew McCoy on here. And I'm going to go to defense. I'd have Amari Thomas on here. Yeah, I got three other Vols I put on this list before Dont'e Thornton, put it that way.
No,
I'm the one who said Dont'e Thornton was Kevin Durant going to Golden State. So, again, I'm the one eating crow on that.
Okay. All right, first down. Brock Bowers, tight end at Georgia, was the top player in the SEC. Would he be your top player in the SEC?
You know, he just might be. I kind of have to agree with that list. I mean, who else are we taking over? I mean, the SEC lost almost all of its top performers from last year. So who are we taking?
I'm gonna factor in impact. You can have a bigger impact at a corner, so I would take Kool-Aid from Alabama. I would probably even take Quinshon Judkins, a running back from Ole Miss. To me, he's not number one because of his position. You do have Harold Perkins, a linebacker at LSU that made the top 10. So no, because of his position, I would have several people. If you had top tight end prospect in college of the past 10 years, he might be number one, but I would have to take the position of impact. I don't know specifically if that was taken into account, but I'm sorry, a tight end can only have so much of an impact on the game. So that was first down. Second down, and it's not a knock on Bowers at all. Listen, he can be a Dallas Cowboy tomorrow, and I would be a happy man. Okay, so we asked, if not, who would you take over him in the SEC? We did that. So that was second down. Who is the most underrated player on this list from the SEC? So taking a look at the list, what player is underrated? That's a little bit more difficult. And I've got mine in place. What about you?
So I haven't fully gone through the list yet, but I would have said, and I don't even know if he's on this list. So you could tell me, but is KJ Jefferson on this list? I was looking for him and I couldn't find him.
I haven't seen Jefferson on this list. I mean, it's tough to get on this list as far as quarterbacks go. The guy that I would take is most underrated would probably be one of a couple of different guys. It's because maybe they don't play sexier positions, but J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle at Ole Miss, I think they've lost a little bit of their physical mojo, and if he's able to help bring that back, I think it's a big factor because they want to get back to that. I mean, they're not going to suddenly be triple option. They're not going to be I formation or anything like that. But to be a little bit more physical, I think he would help set that tone. So I think he's underrated at 28. The other guy that I would have, safeties are underrated too, but Malachi Starks at Georgia. And the reason is kind of like the Trey Flowers thing, Caleb. I think that he covers up for some mistakes. And I wonder at times when Georgia dug a hole for themselves last year, if he wouldn't have been there, had those holes been impossible to climb out of. I think so. I think there might have been some situations where he kept them in games, a selfless player, a lot like you talked about Trey Flowers, and a better upside. No offense. Before we get to fourth down, Craft Treats, go to crafttreats.com. My poor dog had 11 teeth taken out. So we've been having to mash up the Craft Treats with the CBD in them to help with this pain. Also helps with arthritis pain, anxiety. And don't forget that they can help with several other issues like digestive issues. Those are the chill pills with the CBD derivatives. You don't have to go with those. They've got great holistic treats right there at crafttreats.com. Use the promo code Off the Hook. That's the promo code Off the Hook, and get 20% off. All right. So fourth down, before we get to why Jim Irsay doesn't think Peyton Manning is one of the best players of all time. What Vols will be on this list next year? Caleb Calhoun, and we can spread that out to the SEC if you would like, but in particular, what Vols will be on this list next year? I'm just going to go ahead, since I started this bandwagon, I'm driving it. I get credit for it. So in January the 15th, January the 31st, whatever happens with Tennessee football, look back and say Dave started this thing. Dylan Sampson will be top 30 on this list next year.
Well, I could actually get with that. I can get with that. I can get with
top
Dylan
30?
Sampson.
I tried to make it high so you wouldn't easily agree, because I knew you'd agree that he'd be on the list.
If he's not top 30, if he's not top 30, then Squirrel White will be top 30. One of those two players is going to be top 30 on this list. And Dave, get the sound effects ready. Nico.
It's too fast. There you go. There you go.
Will be on the list going into next year, because this list, he's clearly basing it somewhat off potential, and we all know Nico's the starter going into next year. So with all the hype, he's just going to put Nico on the list.
Nico will probably be on the list. Okay, so here we've got some people weighing in on the message board. Well, we can't say Bazooka Joe will be on the list because he's not next year, I think. So Travis is just excited about Bazooka Joe in general. But let's go with Nico. Will he be on the list next year? I agree. Hey now. Because I think that's just going to be a neat little thing to do, to have him on there. And he might play a little bit to see something. Squirrel White, will he be on the list? Caleb, what say you?
Absolutely.
Hey now. All right. So we both agree that Dylan Sampson will be top 30, right?
I don't. I just said I could see it. I'm not going to give him top 30. Sorry. I'm going to say top 100.
Okay, I'll give that. Okay, so that's a hey now and
that's crazy.
Okay, to me. So and then Cam Seldon. All right. Everybody get mad at me. I'm not sold on Cam Seldon yet. I've seen too many spring running backs have success, and I'm very high on Dylan Sampson. I'm solid on Jabari Small and Jalen Wright. So I don't see Cam Seldon being on this list next year. I don't see him having a breakout monster season like somebody do. Some people do. And I know what you guys think.
You suck.
Fine.
Jackass.
Maybe I do, and maybe I'm a jackass. But I just don't. I'm not ready to get on that bandwagon until I hear it about midway through preseason camp.
No.
And I will or won't. I can promise you that, because you'll hear it first right here on Off the Sports.
I'm absolutely with you. First of all, if anybody watched that spring game, outside of a couple drives with Nico and Joe, most of the skill players or any physical players at any other positions, if they played in the spring game, they were the type of players Josh Heupel doesn't plan on playing in the fall. I'm just going to tell you guys that right now. So he played Cam Seldon because he doesn't plan on playing Cam Seldon in the fall. So I think that it kind of reminds me. It's funny. We just talked the 2005 team, and this is kind of funny that this happened because not funny. It's sad, but he suffered a season-ending injury anyway. But Dave, remember the spring practice of that year when Gerald Riggs didn't even touch the ball in spring practice because they were worried about the.
Oh yeah, I'll give you a couple of them. Kirsten Biggers was one. He ended up just being a career walk-on at Tennessee. I think he had 5,000 yards in spring camp. David Yancey was another one. I don't know if you remember that name. He was an engineering major, so we all wrote flowery features about him in April because he had 5 million yards in the spring. He didn't touch the ball in the fall. The only one that ended up out of this group I remember of guys that got a ton of touches in spring practice was a guy named Michael Stewart, and he transferred to Hawaii and was their leading rusher for a year or two. I mean, these dudes happen, and I look at Cam Seldon.
Is what we're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Cam Seldon with the eyeball test, and I don't think he's that guy. So if I had to bet a mortgage, I would say yes, he is going to be an impact player. I just want to see it because of my history, and history tends to repeat itself. You're a gambler, you know that. History tends to repeat itself. So right now, I see a running back that had a great spring, no knock, but that also has a bunch of more experienced guys sitting on the bench behind him. So I want to see it. I want to see, and I don't have to see it in a game. I just have to see it in preseason camp.